Good evening. I'll call the meeting to order. We like to start each meeting with some good news, and so we have two students here we would like to recognize and give certificates to. And Amy, did you want to introduce them? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Amy Trinnell, and I'm the coach of the speech and debate team at the high school. And I'm very excited to be here and let you know a little bit about the program and introduce the two young men standing behind me. There are about 26 students at the high school that have participated in some form or fashion on the speech and debate team this year. And we've won many accolades in the state this year. We brought some of our bling with us. We were the main district NFL cumulative trophy winners, and that's accumulation of points over a number of years. So it's not just the team from this year, but cumulative points from participants in prior years. We also would like to let you know that our own beloved Bob Engels was voted Judge of the Year this year, and ABS has very graciously offered to install a banner for all of the state champions for speech and debate over the years. And so I've been in contact with prior coaches, one of them Kathy Schultz, if you all remember who Kathy Schultz is, to make sure that all years are recognized over the course of time. At the state meet this year, we were very honored to have an opening video greeting from Angus King. And he spoke to the students from Washington, D.C., and it was actually rather humorous because the day of the state tournament here in Maine was the day that Washington, D.C. shut down due to a snowstorm. But our own senator went to his office to send us a video greeting and wish all the kids good luck at the Maine state tournament and talk about what a benefit it is to participate in a program like speech and debate. So I'd like to introduce these two young men behind me. They are seniors at Marana Cook this year. They are the debate team captains, and Jacob Ide and John Parent are the state champions in public forum debate. And in speech and debate, it is not ranked by class, so they are the state champions in all classes. And so, without further ado, they have a couple of awards they want to show you.
All right, so this is the plaque that we got for winning the state tournament, the Public Forum Debate Champion 2015-16, and we have, yes, this medal as well.
The individual medals, that's for the team.
This goes in the trophy cabinet. Unfortunately, we don't get to take it home as much as we'd like to steal it. But also, Amy didn't mention the fact that the team also won the award for the best sportsmanship of the year, which is really important because it's voted on by the entire MFA, which is all of the debate teams from around the state, so, and the coaches as well. So basically they all voted Marana Cook as the most sportsmanly team in the entire state. So that was pretty big too.
Yeah, it's the whole team that wins that, so it's more important because sportsmanship is important. And then we've qualified for the CFL tournament, which is nationals for the past 3 years in a row, and I don't think either of us brought them. There'll be a little Oscar trophies for that. I don't think either of us brought one.
It was Oscar weekend or something like that.
Yeah, so. But other than that, we're going to go this spring in May to Sacramento. Qualified for that the past 3 years. And then Jacob this year qualified for the NSDA national tournament in, I think, Utah this year?
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City, yeah. So here's the plaque for that. I was too busy skiing, so we qualified for another person. but yeah.
So yeah,
that's
our trophy cabinet on the year, I guess.
Shake your hand. Oh, yeah, sure. And the other thing is, I just wanted to ask whether you have plans for next year yet?
In terms of colleges and things like that?
In terms of whatever.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you.
Amy, this is for you. We'd also definitely like to know what you debated about.
Okay, so the topic for the state tournament for public forum was, on balance, economic sanctions have reduced the threat that Russia poses to Western interests. So basically we talked about the economic sanctions that the US has imposed and that Europe has imposed and how those have impacted Russia's basically threat, not only on the West directly, but also in areas like Syria and Ukraine and things like that. So it was a really global issue.
We also focused on like the Crimean Peninsula and Russian annexation of that area.
Right, yeah. And then for the CFL tournament that we qualified for, the topic was carbon tax. So we were debating whether or not we should adopt a carbon tax in the US, and it was the same for the NSTA tournament as well. But to get back to your earlier question about where we're going next year, we don't really know yet because the regular decision the colleges haven't released their regular decisions on our applications yet, but hopefully we get into some good places. Let's come right up.
Can we clap again?
Yeah.
Yes, very impressive. Well, moving on to the consent agenda.
As written. I'll second that.
Okay, we'll go with that. Any questions, additions, corrections for the minutes? All in favor of approval of the minutes of February 3rd, 2016? And that's unanimous. And then we have another item on the...
Acceptance of the teacher resignation of Robin Westcott, high school science, with regrets.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Thank you. Are there any citizen comments this evening that don't pertain to the budget? No? Okay. Are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda?
I don't have any.
Gary?
I have 15 seconds or less. So on the last meeting we had, I asked a question which was not answered. So I went down to the Department of Education. The answer is, for the nurse, the average cost for students is $7,887. And you go 4 times that, and that gives you 31,000. So any difference between 31,548 and 50,000 is state funded. And here's the paper. I'll give it to Donna.
Okay, thank you. We will refer to that at the time that we do budget negotiations. Thank you for your research. Okay. I guess now it's time for the budget workshop to begin.
Okay, you have folders in front of you, and in your folders you have a letter that from Representative Hickman. He wrote it to the citizens of Monmouth, Reedfield, and Winthrop concerning the $23 million gap in school funding that has caused us to lose money. 400,000. So I have written back to Representative Hickman, and I would urge you to write back to him as well. He emailed me then back and said that they really need to hear from people. So it's very important that people get in touch with representatives on that matter. You also have in your folder the green revenue sheet that outlines our revenues last year and for the coming year. So remember that the total budget for 2015-2016 is the budget that was voted on. And after the townspeople, the citizens voted on the budget, you'll remember that we got $203,029. So the total funding that we got from the state was $15,968,310. Remember that extra $203,000 was not added on top of the budget, but it was revenues that we got from the state because we had already voted on the budget. So we've moved that forward to revenue for this for FY17. But the total decrease in funding that we're getting from the state is the $203,029 plus the $203,067, which is over a $400,000 decrease from last year. So again, urging you to contact your senators and representatives about this.
Well, the 200,000 was because we programmed monies over, and there was a half-time nurse that was in there, and I don't see that number. That we budget, that the towns also paid for, which was like 21,000.
The house money, yes, we're going to talk about that, yes.
But that's not, this 200,000 is not that money?
No, no.
This is just state
No,
money.
the 200,000 was also that we did not spend.
Right, correct. We couldn't.
Is this the 200,000?
We couldn't spend it because the citizens had not voted to spend that. Right, you're right, yes. So it's still there, and that's why
But the other part is still needs to be thought about.
yeah, we're gonna talk about that later on tonight, okay? So hold that thought, Gary.
I won't forget it.
Okay, good. So you also have in your folders a summary of budget requests, including the requests that will be presented tonight. Diane McGregor received an inquiry from Steve Hayes regarding the possible purchase of Chromebooks instead of MacBook Airs. Remember, we were talking about in the budget is money for MacBook Airs for the elementary teachers. Their computers are dying. So Diane spent a lot of time doing research on the Chromebooks, and you have that information in your folder as well. And Diane's here tonight if anybody has questions about that as we move into the discussion section. Tonight we have presentations from the remaining areas of the budget. The original request, number 2 budget that was presented at the last meeting hasn't changed as to date, but you do have a copy of that in your packet. So tonight, and that's the top paper in your packet. So tonight we're going to start with Al McGregor, who's the Director of Student Services, and he's going to present the co- and extracurricular budgets. Al.
Good evening. First of all, I'll start off by just giving you an overview of the activities that we have at the high school and middle school. I'll start with the middle school, where we currently have 19 activities. We have 17 athletic, 2 non-athletic activities that take place. 18 of these activities, 18 of the 19 are funded by the district. Excuse me, they're all funded by the district, but 18 of the activities have the $50 participation fee that each student is asked to pay before participating. We do have a Miranda Cook Educational Foundation scholarship that they can apply for if there is hardship. The only activity at the middle school is the math team that is not required to pay the $50 fee. At the high school, we have 37 activities. 31 of these programs are funded by the district. 3 of them are partially funded, which is the varsity and JV football team and the hockey team. And then we have a parent-funded lacrosse team for boys and girls, where they cover all expenses. So 32 of our 37 activities charge a $75 participation fee. So we generate some revenue with the middle school and high school with these activities. We do have 31 athletic teams at the high school and 6 non-athletic. So district-wide, there are 56 activities offered, and 50 of these 56 are fully funded, and 50 of them charge the participation fee. As far as numbers, participation numbers go, this last year I saw an increase, even though we do have the fee in place, I do see numbers have gone up this year. At the middle school, from this previous fall and winter, we've had 178 participants in athletics. So at the middle school in the fall, we had 33%, or 1/3 of the school participating. That was up 8% from last year. This winter, we did have 36% participating. Now keep in mind, with the middle school athletic teams, there have been cuts over the years with the programs that we have offered. So in the past, we used to have a 7th and 8th grade soccer team. We're down to a lot of sports with just one team. So many times 6th graders are not allowed to participate in the team events. So we have the 8th graders and 7th graders who are here. There are events, if the numbers permit, 6th graders are allowed to participate. But teams like cross country, alpine and Nordic skiing, 6th graders can sign right up right there, and they can start right from the get-go. So they are allowed to participate in a few events. High school participation numbers, in the fall and the winter, we've had 261 participants in athletics. We've also had speech and debate. The numbers have been up this year. We've had 26 participants with speech and debate, 35 with a musical, and there's 10 more with the math team. So there are times during the course of the year when we have 50% of our student body, just over 50% involved in activities. So we are keeping the kids busy here. As far as the budget goes, this year I am up just under $17,000. One of the things that Kathy Jacobs did in the fall was there was a survey that went out, and I think she's talked to the board about this already. There was a survey that went out asking what some of these kids at the middle school may be interested in, might be able to get some of the 6th graders more involved with some of the activities. And in the survey, what came up was robotics, and then the kids were interested in an intramural volleyball/archery. So we've included about $7,000 in that. Some of the other reasons why the budget has gone up this year is because of the stipends, and there are the transportation issues. As I just mentioned, this year with 26 kids in speech and debate, we've had to send more buses out, where in the past parents have been able to provide transportation. So when you get up there with the higher numbers, it's good to get the kids on the bus and get them all traveling together. As far as the fee goes, the athletic fees at the high school and middle school, this year, we're going to be, after the spring, I'm anticipating about $45,000 in revenue just from the fees alone. There are the gate fees for the play, for basketball season. If there are some playoff games, there are some gates charged as well. And it would be approximately another $10,000 generated with just the gate fees. So with the athletic programs, we are bringing back in $55,000 to go back towards the school. So it's quickly summing up this year's proposal. And is there any questions?
Brian? I know there's been some discussion about fees this year, and the average season, is it about 10 weeks?
Yeah.
So we're talking about $7.50 per week to participate in something that outside of school you would likely pay $50 a week or so.
Right.
And I know at the time that we increased the activity fees a little bit, it was to keep sports at the middle school level, at the level we have now. And I think we had done some research with surrounding districts, and we found we were lower than some of the surroundings, such as Winthrop High School. I believe they're $100.
Yes.
For the year, okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Well, the board member who wanted to discuss the issue of activity fees unfortunately couldn't be here this evening. Do you remember the process a few years ago where programs were going to be cut and parents said, please don't cut programs, we'd rather pay fees?
Yes. Yeah, and this has been a process, collecting the fees. I mean, I think we've gotten a lot better with it this last year. I know things are up on the computer now, and we're able to track things a little bit better. We are enforcing, kids are able to go and practice with the teams, but what I'm instructing the coaches to do is not hand out any uniforms until the fee has been paid. So, for the most part, the coaches have been pretty good at doing that. There have been a couple of teams where it slipped through, but they also have the money where they do fundraising. Like Ron Gifford does an incredible amount of fundraising for the ski team and the track team, and he has the money in the budget right there to cover the cost. So
It's also my understanding that people can ask for financial aid
Right.
and they receive it without a lot of questions or rigmarole through the
Correct.
Marana Cook Foundation and
Yep.
also through the Awesome Bear Society.
yes, we probably see an average of 12 to 15 people a year applying for that scholarship. Is that a
This year it's up a little bit higher than that, but MEF has agreed to give us additional money to help with that, and I believe Awesome Bear is also.
And Awesome
discussing
Bears
this,
has
too.
been asking questions about this and looking to get involved as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Paul Chris, our Director of Operations and Maintenance and Transportation, will present those two budgets. So I think Paul has some pictures to show.
Hello. Diane's going to be my Vanoi. I have a couple of pictures of the roofs that we're supposed to do this year. One's in Manchester, one is Mount Vernon, not Mount Vernon, Reedfield, and a little one in Mount Vernon. I don't know how you want me to go through this. Do you want me to go through every one of these, line by line, or is that what you want me to do?
Why don't you do the highlights?
Manchester roof, coming. There's two sections of roof. This is in the gym, up over the gym, that needs to be done. I think I have 3 pictures that shows that it's pretty bad, deteriorated. Yep, that's the best one right there. And the other part is over the kindergarten area, and that, I don't have a picture of that, but the roof is the same way, and that's why it's $44,000 to do those 2 roofs. Well, not 44, it's plus 15 for the kindergarten part. Reedfield School, their whole roof needs to be done, the whole main quarter, and that is a big expense. And you can see where it's been patched and it's all coming up. It's almost like Manchester roof. That's on the north side. That's actually not as bad as the south side. And this is at the high school. This is one of the projects that we have. It's not as expensive, but we're losing the dugout. For some reason, the floor is sunk down about 4 inches. We're not sure why it's doing this. I had a contractor come in. You can see the painted line also. The 2 different colors where it's gray and white, and it's sunk down that far. And it also has a big crack in it. I think I have a couple more in there too. And that door frame is supposed to be the concrete's supposed to be up underneath that door. And it's got a big crack in the front of it also. So that's another project. And I think that was all the pictures? Yep.
We'll stay here in case anybody wants to see them again.
Yep. Anybody have any questions on those?
Those items are going to be bid, bid.
Yeah, I got prices for them, and like the roofs, I got 2 prices already, like you asked me to do when we had the facility meeting.
So you're not going to follow the bid process according to the,
Well, we will, I haven't given out to anybody. We haven't,
Okay.
We're just going through this, I have to get some prices, find out what we're doing. We're trying to do. In each school, I have money in to continue doing painting on the exterior and the interior of the buildings. Mount Vernon needs to have a sidewalk, that's in pretty bad shape. I should have taken some pictures of that, and I didn't. The tennis court, that's another big item. We have some minor cracks that are coming up, and the cracks need to be filled. There's a couple small divots, and it needs to be resurfaced, not resurfaced, repainted and relined. And there's some carpet that needs to be done down in Manchester. And what is it? The biosinks in the high school here, that's a rough estimate of $25,000 to replace those. I guess that's about it. No. And this is just part of the stuff. This is just some of the things I felt that we really needed to do. So there's other things that need to be done, but I didn't put them in. Do you have any questions on what I have on the proposal? Yes,
so
Gary?
on which items are your help going to be doing over the summer? I mean, we should highlight those so that we know that it's not part of the bid process.
What do you mean?
Well, normally you do the painting. I see.
No, we don't. We have somebody come in and do the painting. We don't have time to do that. There's enough stuff.
In the summer months, you don't do anything?
Oh, yeah. We sit around and drink coffee. Read the paper, put a pizza. No, we try to put the building back together. We strip all the floors, wash all the carpets, clean all the desks, all the chairs.
So all these items need to be done
right
outside of your help.
contractors, right. I can't do it all.
No, it is.
I try, but I don't. I can't do it. So. And the gym floors is what I used to do, but I'm getting too old. I can't do it anymore. Anything else? Anybody else on these?
So the procedure says 5,000.
Right.
5,000 correct, or should it be higher so that he can go get some of these?
We have to go by what the policy says, so we will go by what the policy says.
I think we have the right to go and put it out to bid. We can choose who we want to have done.
Right.
So, and that's typically the way I do it, but I have to get different prices from different people so I can put it in. It's like when we met at facilities, you notice that the roof was a lot more expensive because that was a different company that has a higher overhead.
So what people also, when I went to that facilities, you mentioned that this high school roof needs to be done with the 400,000. And it's 2 years from now.
That's not exactly right. In 2020, it needs to be done. It's $1 million.
So I think that somehow we need to put that in the notes of this going forward so that people know that we're going to have
It's in the plan.
It's in the plan.
It's in the plan.
Yep.
that people will read.
Well, it's in the plan. I had Paul and Dwayne sit and do a 5-year plan.
That's part of it is also that we have to do something with the middle school roof, and I took that out for this coming up year, so the budget wouldn't be as high. I wanted to put the road in, have that resurfaced. I didn't do that because it's going to put the budget way up. That was $86,000 just for that. We have a lot of things. We have a lot of bills that need to be taken care of, and we have to choose our priorities.
Stefan?
Could we get a copy of that capital plan? Just
Sure.
to see it?
One of the bigger items on the budget is it says repair and resurface of tennis courts. Did you
Yes.
decide not to
It's
resurface?
not resurface, it's repainting and also putting the lines back. There's a couple of divots that need to be filled, and there's a whole mess of small little cracks that are forming. And if we let them go, they're gonna end up like the driveway, and we're gonna have to have it resurfaced. And that was done back in 2005. It was like $58,000, as I recall. It had to be dug up, redone, re-gravelled, re-laid. So this is trying.
So it's preventative care.
We also have that in the track that should be done also. That was another $27,500, as I recall. I took that out because I'm going to wait until next year to put it back into the budget if I happen to be here for next year. But that needs to be. No, that's coming.
We're not taking you out of the
That is coming. But that needs to be that needs to be 2 coats of urethane put on it and relined, and that would be good for another 5 to 7 years before it needs to be resurfaced with some rubberized coating. And Gary, I'm trying to find somebody else to come in and look at it, just to let you know. There's not a lot of people that do that stuff either. So.
Yeah, because this was higher at one time.
Yes, very much. Very much.
Right.
Nice.
This here roofing job came down a lot.
Yes, it did, because I took out the middle school, and that was $77,000 for that, the one.
So that middle school is going to be done next year?
Following year, yeah, not this summer. 2017, right. I'm crossing my fingers that we'll make it through it, and we should.
Okay.
'Cause I've
Well, I
had,
can see those roofs are no good.
oh yeah, definitely. The middle school roof has to have a restore, and that's redoing the seams and the insulation if it needs to be done. And that will give us another 15 years out of it, hopefully. But this is all preventive maintenance that we're doing. You're gonna have to excuse me, I'm tired, I've been up since 3, so I know. And I do have a position in there, we have a halftime grounds person. We'd like to make that full-time person to give me a break, because I can't keep up with all the stuff that we're doing at the elementary school and also at the middle school and high school. Any questions on the maintenance part?
Transportation.
Transportation. All right, we put in for another 2 buses from the state. We were approved by 1, Bridget, is that right?
Correct.
So just to let you know, we have 23 buses, 15 runs, and 2 pre-K. So, and then we have sports runs and field trips. So we're trying to keep up the good quality of the buses. The buses are good for 14 to 15 years with 180,000 miles on it. That's usually what we try to turn over. That's what the new state mandate is. Isn't that what that was? Because it used to be 10 years, 150, but they went up, as I recall.
Not coming
So
on.
I sat down and looked at your bus
Okay.
schedule.
You got it.
I think it is on, it is on,
Just the lights on.
just the light's not on. I think that the state mandate is, requirements for replacement is still the same. It's just that the state does not have enough money to fund as many buses. And so last year, a bus had to be 17 years old before it would even get on the list for replacement. We finally did get 1 bus on the list this year, and it's 15 years old, so.
A lot of maintenance.
So when I look at this list, compared to when we were in your meeting,
Yeah.
what stood out to me is this number 27, which is, has 381,000
Right.
miles.
That's the little bus that kept going back, forth, and back. That was just highway miles.
So it's not used for that anymore?
No, we don't have a program. We don't have any kids that we're transporting down there at the moment.
Okay, so we're just going to keep that in the back?
Yes. It's a small bus, 30 passengers.
Okay. Are we doing maintenance on it, or?
Yes. We still use it if we have to. If we have a small group going out, we're going to use the bus.
Okay, so that's why the mileage is barely went up this year?
Right, right. It's tired iron, but it's still good to go. We have a great mechanic. Randy does a great job for us.
So if the state only gives us, says we have one, and we need two, what's the difference in our funding?
We need
Well, we have to buy the second one, so it's about
24,000.
24,000.
How much?
24,000.
a year for 4 years.
Right.
Which is almost the same as the state, isn't it?
The dif-
The cost is the same, but what happens if the state approves it, they give us some money back through the subsidy formula a year down the road. If it's not approved by the state, it's totally local funded. We don't get any money.
I seem to recall at one point, we did maintenance on buses for other districts?
We did. We used to do Winthrop, and we still do Fayette. Winthrop, we don't do that anymore because they're chartering they have a charter company that takes care of their buses. Winthrop still owns the buses, but they do the maintenance on it. And it's out of Lewis's Northeast Charter, so they transport the buses down and do the maintenance on that.
Thanks.
Yep. You're welcome. Anything else?
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Steve Vos, Director of Adult and Community Education, will present the adult ed budget. This budget's separate from the RSU budget and will be a separate warrant article for voters to vote on.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Steve Vos. I'm the Director of Adult and Community Education. And other members of my staff are Susan Simons, who's not here tonight, Nicole Cushing, and also here tonight actually is Dee Dee Reardon. She should stand up for just a moment. She's an intern with USM, and she would like to be an adult ed director someday. So she had met with me a while ago and was impressed with our program and what we're able to offer as a small adult ed community here. And so she joined us. If you'd like to know more about Dee Dee, in your March board report is a full kind of overview of who she is, what she's doing, and what she's working on with our program. So I want to start off just to talk about, there's a lot of things that we do in adult education, and I'm not sure if you all realize, but I'm only 32 hours a week, and my staff, Susan and Nicole, they work together to work the other 30 hours of administrative time. So we do a lot with very little time. So I'm going to start off and talk about one of the really important components of any adult education program, and that's our enrichment classes. These offerings are especially critical to those living in rural communities where opportunities to access these services are quite limited at times. The Adult and Community Education at RSU 38 offers participants a chance to obtain valuable technical skills, complete required trainings, access health and fitness opportunities, and attend classes where their lives are not only enriched by learning, but also being able to interact socially with other people. Overall, the Adult and Community Education program at RSU 38 offers all community members a chance to access a wide variety of classes and enrichment opportunities. So program participants continue to remain closely connected to their local school systems even long after they no longer have children in attendance. And yearly we have approximately 900 people who attend our enrichment classes. So that's really good for a very small program. So the other important component is obviously the education part of what we do. And that's to help prepare adult students for better, richer, fuller lives through our HiSET, which is our high school equivalency testing program, high school equivalency diploma, and college transitions. By providing these skills, adult education provides hope and inspires students to become valuable and active members of their communities in which they live. So, as you all know, if you've probably seen me speak before, I'm very passionate about the adult ed students that are under my care, and I'm really excited when they're successful, when they attain their high school diploma. But there's a lot of other reasons why getting a high school diploma is really important, and I'm just going to very quickly go over just a couple of those. So adults without a high school diploma are more than twice as likely to live in poverty and 3 times more likely to be unemployed. Local governments stand to gain approximately $6,000 in tax revenue and reduced expenses for every adult who owns a earns a high school diploma. Income for Mainers aged 25 and over with a high school, without a high school diploma is $15,000 or less a year, $15,000 a year or less, while those with a high school diploma averaged over $25,000 a year. 63% of all U.S. jobs require an education beyond high school. 40% of all incarcerated adults have not completed a high school diploma. And the voting rate for adults without a high school diploma is half the rate of those with a diploma. So for our communities, it's very important to get these students in and get them the high school diploma so they have the skills to be able to go on and be successful in their lives and to contribute back to their local communities. So the students who enroll in our educational program come from a wide cross-section of our population. Many are hardworking individuals from communities who, due to certain life events, are unable to complete their high school diplomas, and often these students arrive ready to learn and able to complete our programming and high set requirements with only a little bit of extra tutoring. Other students, however, may require some extensive supports, and for a small program, we're able to offer those students a lot. So in order to help those, we typically will refer the students to other agencies where the students can receive services while still working with our program to receive their high school diploma. So outside services can include substance abuse counseling, which we've used all of these, by the way, domestic violence counseling, and career preparation through the Career Center, ride share and job find services through Goodwill, and many, many others. This referral process allows us to provide support for not only the person's education, but all their education needs and all their career needs, so that they're successful and they can we can break down the hurdles and the barriers that are in place to help them move on through their education. So small adult ed programs like RSU 38 have a distinct advantage when working with adult students by providing an individualized attention. Having students connect with a career counselor, tutor, help build personalized relationships are all key elements to help ensure student retention. And student retention in adult ed is golden. For our program, we have a long history of retaining, and usually we retain about 80% or better of our students. So when an adult student walks in our door, there's a very good chance they're going to stay with our program. And that's completely due to the dedication of my staff that works under me, our tutors, and all of the various educators that help work with our program, and the counselors. And they put all the supports in place to make sure they carry the student through successful completion. So every year we graduate about 7 to 10 individuals through our high school equivalency testing program. And these students can take several months to years with our program to gain the skills that they need to successfully pass the HiSET test. And while students are in our care, we maintain frequent contact with them, calling, texting, emailing, to make sure they're attending classes regularly, and to simply know that we just care about them. And I think that's a great part about our program, is that individualized attention. So adult and community education programs like RSU 38, and this is kind of the same across all adult ed programs, we've seen a real decrease in the number of participants over the years in our enrichment classes and in our HiSET programs. And we know that a lot of that, and it's a 5-year trend that you can see in the budget requests that have come through from my program. It's believed that a lot of that is a result of the financial trends that we've seen across the United States. And so we've continually seen those going down, and as such, you'll see that our budget continues to decrease every year since about fiscal year 2012 to keep pace with these changes. So, of course, the upswing is that we've worked really hard over the last year to get our CDL program to a point where it's extremely successful, and we just put through the 2 biggest classes we've ever had. The first one was 11, which was our first class that we've had in a year since our other. We've had all those programs, problems with our other vehicle, and this semester we're running a class with 12, which are double what we've run classes in the past. So that has been a huge growth, and it's taken an incredible amount of time to get there, but I'm hoping to see the same kind of things eventually occur with our other programs as the economy continues to recover. So despite decreases that we have had in our budget, we all continue to work hard to maintain and even expand, as I just mentioned, our educational, vocational, and enrichment programming, while still working to keep pace with yearly operational administrative costs and to make sure we keep those as low as possible. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
So that's what your budget is $13,000 less this year?
Yeah, so a lot of it is, it's just decreases in the amount of people. Last year we took a really big hit at the end of last year with our enrichment. And if you remember what it was like at last winter, at the very end, it was a ton of snow. People didn't want to go out. They didn't want to travel. They just didn't want to attend classes. And so we had actually quite a large drop-off in enrichment activities. We're hoping that was a 1-year trend. One of the things that Dee Dee is working on, and you can read, of course, more about it in the March board report, is she's working primarily with enrichment and expanding the amount of enrichment opportunities that we're going to have. So, you know, that nice little brochure that you guys all get every year, we're trying to expand that by 4 whole pages, which will be about 20 enrichment activities, and we're going to try to do that for fall. Because we understand that there's probably some people out there, they're probably really interested, but maybe we're not hitting exactly what they want to do to come in and spend their money on. So I always say that I treat adult ed like a business, and I want to get people in. I want to be able to make money for the program so that we can continue to offer more and more out to the local community.
Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. Any other questions? Good? Okay, thank you.
Jeff Bridges is our food service director. The last several years, local dollars of $100,000 have been put towards the food service. Jeff's been doing a fantastic job, and last year he came out in the black for the first time, and so that was terrific. He also has gone through several audits from the state. You'll remember last year he went through a large audit and just came out great. He's doing a wonderful job. You have the breakdown of the food service operations budget, and Jeff is going to talk to us a little bit about that. Jeff?
Really not sure what else to say. It looks like the operating budget's up slightly. Most of that's due to salaries and maintenance and repairs that we have taken over this year that we hadn't had in the past. And last year we bought 2 pieces of equipment. We had 2 pieces that were out of date, and bought one for Wayne, which a warmer that never had one. And I'm not sure what else to say.
Are there any questions?
Compared to the comments that we had last year?
What was that, sir?
The comments that we had last year, are they coming our way again?
The comments.
Yeah, about the food, the organic food, the percentage of organic food?
There's always that. We buy actually quite a bit local. We have this year, we're a farm to school program. I think at the beginning of the year I did a presentation. We work a lot with local farmers. We work with the Sheriff's Department. This year we're going to be doing some processing. The Sheriff's Department is doing some gleaning projects throughout the year, and we'll do some of that, and that will be free food for us doing the work. So kind of excited about that.
Do you want to talk about how that gleaning project works?
Yep. Farmers will contact a certain agency and say, we have crops that's got to go bad within a week or so. The Sheriff's Department will send some of their inmates to the facility, clean it out, and then some of the product will go to the jail for processing, and some here to this school, and we'll get to keep a portion of it here.
Fantastic. That should help in reducing the cost.
It has. We worked with the sheriffs, they have a farm on the other side of the river in Augusta, and we processed almost 5,000 pounds of tomatoes this year, as well as squash and potatoes. So that's really helped the food service budget also.
Is there a student garden now?
There's still a student garden. In fact, we did a seedling project last year with the elementary schools. All the elementary schools planted seeds, we brought them up to the high school. So I think we have 22 beds, and we filled them all last year, and we've got a lot more product than we've ever had. Since really it started with years ago. So yeah, Tyler D'Angelo started that 5 or 6, 7 years ago now. And so since then, this has been the best crop ever, and hopefully we get another grant to do it again this year, and looking forward to that.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You also have a copy of the health center budget. Becca Reynolds, our health center director, is here to present that budget. The $24,000, Gary, is coming up, and Becca's going to talk about that, and I am recommending that the $24,000 that was put in the budget last year in case that the grant was not funded, and it was funded, but that it be moved into a reserved fund, as we are facing the same possibilities this year with uncertain funding for FY17, and Becca's going to talk more about that.
Hi, how is everyone? I thought it might be helpful. I brought you some brochures about the school-based health center, if you'd like them. So I'll just leave them to you and you can take what you like. You know, I feel like lots of times people don't have a real complete understanding of what the health center does. So I have this little visual that I made to present for a parent meeting, and I just thought it might be helpful to just quickly go over this with you. So this is sort of a visual for you. This is me, the director, and I know that's a little egotistical, but I'm the bowl of the ice cream sundae, so I kind of hold it all together. And then there are the school nurses. So the school nurses, every child in the schools, the middle school and the high school, can come to the school nurse if they have an issue, and the school nurse can help them. And I was talking to an audience member earlier, and sometimes even staff comes in, and the school nurse can, help them out if they have a problem. But where the health center is extra special is we build upon the ice cream sundae. So with the help of Maine General, we have a nurse practitioner that is with us 3 mornings a week at the health center. And we also have oversight by 2 doctors, by Dr. Barnes and Dr. Mansfield, whose names you'll see on our brochure. So they provide additional oversight to our nurse practitioner and actually provide her with the supervision that she needs as well. We have 2 administrative assistants, 1 in each building. And then we also work with Kennebec Behavioral Health, so that makes us unique. The school-based health center provides counseling services to students and nurse practitioner services. So we build upon the ice cream sundae in that way. And of course we have the students, and we have some dedicated volunteers that come in every day to help us. And this is Rich Garini. He's the athletic trainer, so he comes in and treats kids with injuries. So I just think sometimes a visual is helpful, and the students are the sprinkles on top. So they make us what we are. So just to give you an update on some numbers, I know you like to hear kind of what we're doing. As far as general enrollment numbers, we have 55% of our student body enrolled in the school-based health center, which means that their parents all filled out paperwork at the beginning of the school year saying that they wanted their child to have access to the nurse practitioner and to the counseling services. So that's 55%. The state average is 43%, so we have a higher average than the state. So that's 360 registered users for both schools. So because of your support, the health center has been able to provide over 400 mental and physical health appointments to our middle and high school students since September this year. So that's from September to December. Those are 400 appointments. So if you can think about the number of lives that have been helped by the school-based health center between the nurse practitioner and the counselors, that's significant. So these individuals came to the health center to see the nurse practitioner or counselor for help with anxiety, relationships, nutrition, concussions, bronchitis, earaches. The list goes on and on. We can all rest assured that the health center is doing its part to keep our students safe, healthy, and in school. Your ongoing investment in our students' health is a wise one. I have Carissa Lucas here, who's a student at Maranacook, and she'd like to share a little bit about her experience at the health center.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carissa Lucas, and I'm a senior here at Maranacook. I have lived in Reedfield my whole life. I have been using the health center since I came to middle school and high school. When I graduate, I plan to train to become a CNA. I became interested in this career because of the caring that I see in the health center. Sandy has given me support and advice. She always goes out of her way to be able to help me. Shelley, the nurse practitioner, gives me nutrition advice. We celebrate when things go well, and she listens to my worries that I have. The health center also sets up special classes for students. I have participated in Zumba, and I learned about drug addictions as well. The health center people are so nice, and they make me feel welcome. Thank you for helping the health center stay. It's hard to imagine Maranacook without the health center.
Thank you.
Pretty nice for Carissa to come out on a night like this with her family, so thank you very much. So the financial support of our towns and this school board helps to make it possible to help students like Carissa succeed here at Maranicook. Last year, you'll recall you voted to put $24,000 in reserve in the event of state budget cuts. And although these cuts were not made, the fact is that the state funds are never a sure thing. I have been told that we will be able to apply for a continuation of the current grant with the state to cover the 2017 grant year. However, at this point, there has not been an official request made for these dollars. In the event of a future loss of grant funding, I'm asking that you consider placing that initial $24,000 in a health center reserve. In the event of a loss of state funds, this reserve would allow us to continue to run the health center while we plan for future funding. Your consideration of this option is appreciated. On behalf of the health center staff, our advisory board, and most importantly, the students, I want to thank you for the investment that you have made in the health and well-being of our community. Any questions?
So I remember I was serving on the board when the original amount was requested, because I think we've held this over for a couple years or done something similar. And there was an outpouring of support for the health center. I think between 50 and 100 public supporters came. So it's important for those new to the board to understand what a critical piece of the Maranicook Community Health Center really is.
So when are you going to apply for this grant?
Well, to make a long story short, there was supposed to be a request for proposal that came out from the state this year, and it did not come. So we've been told that instead of a request for proposal for that $36,000 that the state gives us, they're going to allow us to apply for a continuation of the current grant that we're in. So I haven't done that yet. I haven't seen any official paperwork on that yet. So we're still looking at a potential loss. It's just not a sure thing. So by having this $24,000 kind of tucked away, it would at least allow us to continue to provide services to students while we look for other funding if it doesn't come through. It's hard.
And so this $24,000 wouldn't be additional money that we would have to raise?
Correct.
Actually, 36,000.
Well, right, but, they originally threatened to take away 2/3 of that 36, so that's where we came up with the $24,000 initially.
You have a fundraiser coming up? Not that it has anything to do with this, but you might want to.
On the door, there's a poster,
Yeah.
and I should have brought another one in. It's the Maranicook String Band. It's our annual fundraiser, and my daughter Dana is one of the members of the band, so she also presents here from the middle school, and I'm sure she would love to see you all there.
Yeah, I went last year and just loved it. Just loved it. And Sue Simon's son was there?
Yes,
Right?
he is in the band as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dan.
yeah.
March 12th, Saturday night, 7 o'clock.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
So is that 24,000 designated on this page? You think I'm gonna let these things go by?
It's part of the 54.
So why don't we separate that out so we know what it is?
That's what we're asking, for 24,000 to be put in a reserved fund.
No, that line should be separated
Oh.
out.
We can do that.
Very good.
All right. I have no idea where we are on.
Okay, I do. So Nancy Harriman will present the district professional development, the district curriculum summary budget, and the district assessment summary budget.
Good evening. First, I'm going to speak to the district's professional development budget. Overall, if you notice on the front page, this budget is divided into two parts, K-8 and 9-12. This is something that the state asks us to do. And overall, there is an increase of about $812, and that is due to an additional cost as we go through. I'll show you where that comes in, but it's because of the addition of eye observation, which is a technology-based tool that we'll be using as part of our new required teacher evaluation system. So we obviously offset that item. Costs about $5,000, and it's divided between the elementary and the high school, but we offset that increase with some other decreases. So if you turn to page 1, you'll see at the end of the first section, it says notes 9 to 12% of eye observation under contracted services.
They don't have that one.
Oh, they don't have all that?
No.
Well, then this is a lot simpler for you. I'll just tell you, because it's hard to find all these things in here. So that's basically it then.
Great.
Any questions about professional development? Okay. The next section is the district curriculum budget, and that budget is down about $2,656. But again, it's more, we did do some decreases, but also we've shifted some funding in individual categories, and from this category of district curriculum to the category of assessment. So when we look at that last category, you'll see that's up a little bit. There's one thing in here specifically that I wanted to mention, because we presented our new science curriculum that's in progress to you, and you approved it at our last meeting. Thank you very much. This summer, that group is continuing to meet. You have funded about a day and a half for that vertical team of 7 or 8 teachers to meet for the last 2 summers, and we have 1 more year this summer that we'll be doing that. But this summer, I'd also like to start a vertical social studies team. And I've already spoken to a few teachers about it. There is interest, and we feel like this process is really working as a way to have teachers get involved. A day and a half isn't a lot of time, but it's a great way to kick off some focused work in a content area. That summer meeting time, a lot of it is professional development for all of us on the standards, and then we get started and make a plan for how we're going to do the curriculum work throughout the year. So that is together with science and social studies, it's an increase of $3,608. So it's about $1,800 a content area for those teams to meet this summer. One of the things that has been moved from district curriculum is the funding for jump rope, which is our student information system that we'll be using to track student progress, proficiency on standards. That is needed for proficiency-based education that we're putting in place starting next year. We've been piloting this program for a couple of years, so we've had some cost for it in already. But we had been doing it as a pilot under the curriculum budget, and now we're moving it into assessment, which is a more appropriate place for it on the long term. So this budget is up about $13,000 overall. And in addition to the jump rope, which has been moved in here, there's also an additional $1,000 for the proficiency assessment in world language that we've been piloting for 2 years. The additional $1,000 is because at the high school, it's been so helpful and useful that they would like to assess students at more of their students that are in world language. We started out 2 years ago by just assessing level 1 students, and we were primarily looking at trying to get our middle school level 1 and our high school level 1 aligned and to see whether the assessment was worthwhile. Last year we assessed level 1 and level 4, and level 4, we squeaked in, we just did a couple of, not all of them, we just did speaking and listening. This coming year, they would like to do that more completely with all their students, and it's really helping us improve the curriculum and instruction in those programs, and will be important going into proficiency-based diplomas that we have an objective measure like that to use in addition to district measures to show that students really have attained the proficiency that they need in world language. So I think those are the key things. There's also some extra days for me, which my contract is like a week, 2 extra weeks beyond the school year, and I usually do those right at the end of the school year till the end of June and a little bit of time in August. But in the last 2 years, we've had a lot of summer curriculum and professional development work. And so we've been covering some of those extra days out of other funding sources, and we felt like it was probably time to put them in the district budget. A lot of that work has been proficiency-based assessment work, so that's why we put the assessment.
I really like your idea of putting together a vertical team for social studies. It seems to me lately that there are too many people in this country who don't know enough about government and history and you know, and I love the idea of putting together a curriculum that covers a whole variety of things so that we do our civic responsibility in helping students learn their civic responsibility, I guess. So, good idea.
So you're in the district-wide calculation.
Right, in that last category that's district-wide. And it's, I can tell you that total amount, although it's also broken out because it includes some, you know, the smaller amounts for benefits, but under district-wide salaries, the increase is $2,878. Right, Bridget? Okay.
It's 12,646.
That's the total.
She's talking about a specific salary line, you're talking about the total of the section, and that also includes the transfer of jump rope into that section. So jump rope is one of the assessment tools that they're using.
Right.
So that's part of that 12,000.
So this, what I was giving you was the figure for the amount of increase, the dollar increase, that's for additional days for me. But there are other things in there too that contribute to that. Any other questions?
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. So the remaining sections of the budget, the next one is other regular education services. You'll remember that last year you agreed to fund 1 day of a behavior specialist. We have 4 days that are funded under special ed, and we needed another day for our behavior specialist, Monica Smith, to serve as a consultant in the regular ed realm. And she has done an amazing job this year with that. She's worked with teachers. She is out in the schools. I was out at Mount Vernon yesterday, and there was Monica, and working with a regular ed student. So she's given our teachers some strategies to work on with students. She has given them a toolbox of strategies to use. They work on creating behavior plans. It's been very worthwhile. She's working very hard, and the teachers really appreciate that. So under regular education services, that is her piece. She's the only thing, the only person in there, her salary benefits. And, under system administration, the summary budget, this budget supports the school board. Our liability insurance and audit costs have gone up a bit. Also, this budget supports the superintendent, administrative assistant, and the staff in the business office. Several of the staff are working with 6-year-old computers, so this budget does support the purchase of 3 new computers. Computers are very important to our office, so we would be in trouble if our computers went down. For the debt service and lease purchase budgets, they pay for the voter-approved projects such as the middle school and athletic field construction and the high school renovation bond. They also pay for items such as school buses, the middle and high school security cameras, energy retrofit projects, and the exterior lights for the parking lots at the middle and high school that we added. A list of debt and equipment lease purchases is included in your packet, and it will be published on our budget website. Any questions?
Thank you, Donna.
So our debt service costs are going down.
Yes. I don't know if anyone signed up.
Is there anyone here to make a comment about the budget, even if you didn't sign up? So what is our plan for next week? Is our next meeting when we meet with the boards of selectmen?
Yes.
So one of these papers, I was looking at the fuel costs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but my house, I used a heck of a lot less fuel than what I did the year before. But I didn't see a major drop in our fuel costs as I went across.
We just went out to bid today, along with several of the area towns, for number 2 and diesel. And we are going to be able to have some savings, but we just did that bid today, so you'll be seeing it in the future.
But this here indicated like we're using more fuel this year. Or did I miss that?
Well, I don't just look at one past year. I look at an average of several years when I calculate that. And that's because we never know what the winter's going to be. So, so
But you also added another line, which was the trans office propane.
right, this past year, this past fall.
Office out here?
No, this is the office at the bus garage. We actually took out the old oil furnace and put in a new propane furnace this year. So that's why that one is broken out separately on that sheet.
Still, let's go back to gallons, you know what I'm saying? And I would thought that are these not used, or is this just total?
This is total.
That we paid for, so we're not gonna be using all that fuel. So you're gonna have a balance going forward? The cash going forward?
Well, the way budgets work, if we don't spend it all, it goes into, undesignated reserve
Right.
at the end of the year. It's possible that we're not going to use it all, but our contracts also, when we go out to bid, it's a buy. These are the gallons that you put out in the bid, and you need to buy those, so.
So, but what happens if you can't put it in the ground?
We'll continue to buy from that company until we've used up those gallons.
Okay. So it's a carry forward.
The company works with us. Yeah. On that.
Are there any other questions about the budget tonight?
Do you want to deal with the health center?
you need a motion for that?
Yes,
or you want-
yes.
I move that we place the $24,000 in dedicated reserve, no?
Just reserve.
Reserve,
Reserve,
okay.
the health center reserve.
Okay, that's
Second
my
that.
motion. Is there any further discussion on? What?
No, Kelly's taking that, so.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we allocate $24,000 to the reserve account for the health center. All in favor?
That's that line that she's going to add.
Right. Opposed? Thank you. Steve, you haven't said anything all night, and that's very unusual. Would you like to?
I apologize for being late, I was running my daughter around.
Well, I'm glad you could make it, and I hope the roads are okay.
I did have another question to ask.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Coming from both directions. Hold on. Are we going into executive session? We are going to go into executive session.
Can we just see, there's information in your folder about the Chromebooks. Diane, did I don't know if you saw that.
Stefan.
Small budget question that you may have been talking about this at your level, but when you go through all of the capital planning items that you have you looked at whether or not bonding now for any of these in a big group would make sense in the current environment?
I'll start and you can finish. It takes a while to prepare the bond, and I believe that we just don't have time. It goes out in the spring. Spring and fall. Right, and we wouldn't have time for that. Our roof is in dire straits.
We are looking at that for down the road farther.
Okay.
Because, like Paul mentioned, the high school has between $750,000 and $1 million roof project coming up in 4 years. The entrance road needs to be redone. Manchester Elementary's boiler is having major issues, and that is a major project because they have three different systems in that school.
Mm-hmm.
They have hot water, they have steam, and they have electricity, and it all runs through every single room, right through all the bookcases. So we are looking at, in the future, probably 2 to 3 years from now, going out for a bond on putting a lot of the big projects together for that.
Good.
But it, and we're looking at, the Siemens projects that we have, some of those only have 2 to 3 years left. The middle school construction and athletic fields bonds will be done in 2020. And so we're hoping that we can, phase it in right about that same time so that we don't have to have a big spike in the budget,
Right. Is the school district limited to which bond or what bond source you can go through? You said it only comes twice a year.
Oh, that is the Maine Municipal Bond Bank. I don't believe we are required to just use the Maine Municipal Bond Bank, but that is the one.
Good, because you should look, it might be worth looking at some other options going directly to banks.
Right, and we will when that time comes. But right now, we weren't going to, yes, we have some major projects, but we have some really big projects coming down the road.
Yep, thanks.
Did you?
So I just have one little crazy question. When I talked to the DOE, where did they ever come up with that 7,000? When you look at all these expenses?
Oh, per pupil.
Yeah.
Per pupil. That's a per pupil amount, and it's a big calculation that the state does. And then the 4 times the amount that they say.
No, I understand, but where did the 7,000 come from?
It's a big calculation. It takes into consideration the number of students, the number of teachers, what we pay our teachers, how much they give us for.
So there's no buildings in there or any?
There is, they do give us, and this is one of the parts of the formula that I really don't understand. They give us a maintenance cost based on per pupil, not based on square footage of your building, based on per pupil. So, so there is a cost calculated into that. There's also administration, there's technology, there's several different parts.
It just seemed to be awful low to me.
It is.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about? What the Department of Education has said?
That little piece of paper.
Per
They couldn't afford
pupil?
any more paper than that little piece right there.
Is that essential programs and services per pupil cost? Is that what
Yeah.
that is? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so I think our homework will be, I know I have to call on Steve, but I just thought I'd get mine first. I think our homework is to go through the materials we have and think about what we give priorities to, and also we want to ask the administrative team and Donna to get together and look and see whether they can pare anything down or change anything or modify anything that could help with this $400,000 unexpected deficit that we have this year. Steve?
One, I would sort of second Stefan's comment. When I was going through that maintenance project list, I identified roughly $335,000 worth of items that probably have a useful life in excess of 5 years. And typically I would prefer to have us and have the taxpayers pay for it over the useful life. I also have concerns about, having been around here for a while, if you have a surge in maintenance expenses one year, somehow that's never met the next year by corresponding reduction in terms of non-one-year types of expenses. It tends to sort of get backfilled with other things. So I think if we smooth out some of these maintenance expenses, we're more likely to smooth out the impact on the taxpayers. And frankly, moving $335,000 of that maintenance budget into a multi-year note would certainly help us get closer to some kind of balance this year. In terms of essential programs and services, once upon a time, probably 10, 15 years ago, that had a theoretical basis, but even then it was very arbitrary. For example, administrative costs, they took what we spent 10 years prior to that and cut it in half as what an efficient school should spend. It's always been enormously arbitrary and result-driven.
Right. Apparently so. Apparently so.
When we had the buildings meeting, the two roofs, the middle school and the Manchester's roofs, came up and they appeared like overnight almost. So I have a feeling last winter made a big impact on those two roofs. The big thing is that I don't want us to lose sight of the $400 or the $1 million that's coming up for this school, and that we do that way in advance and get the bids out and everything else.
Yeah, well, I think that, we ought to be smoothing out expenses so that basically they correspond to the useful lives of the buildings or whatever the item is.
Yeah.
I mean, certain things like painting you expect to do almost every year. And that's fine, but when we're dealing with roofs, when we're dealing with other things like that in terms of equipment replacement that's going to have a long-term use, and some of this stuff I suspect has been in place since 1976, that we ought to be able to smooth out that impact a little better. That doesn't disregard the need, it's just trying to deal with it the same way a business might, in fact, deal with it.
The other thing is, Steve, is that we should be thinking long-term, and that is, right now is the time to get bonds, because 3 years from now, credit market's going to be high.
Yeah, the rates are pretty good now.
Yeah, with negative interest rates, they're certainly great.
I'd like to move we go into executive session to discuss negotiations pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 405D.
Is there a second?
Second?